Hello and welcome to Monday's Terrace podcast. I'm Graham Thillis and today I am joined by Craig Anderson.
Hello, how are we doing?
And live from his sex dungeon, Ewan Taylor.
Hello, Graham. Hello, Craig. That's correct. Carry on.
Carrying on, moving on swiftly. As it is a Monday, as always, we'll be reviewing the weekend's 6 matches. I suspect we should have made a better plan before we started this, but there's only really one place to start, and that is in the Highlands on Sunday. It's the most recent game. It's probably the biggest game of the weekend as in terms of results. And as the game kicked off, 15 minutes in, it felt so far so Ross County as Jack Baldwin fired in an own goal past the Ross Laidlaw. And then some other stuff happened. Where do you want to start, Craig?
Well, I think we can talk about from a Ross County perspective. Like, I don't, apart from the form of Simon Murray, which has been consistently good for a while, I don't think it's a result many people saw coming from their point of view. Like, I think we can get on to Rangers later, and I think there's been signs that they've been shaking a bit, they've been rattling a bit. And I thought, and I think I said last week, I expected them to drop points before the end of the season, but I did not expect it to be against a team that have never beaten them before, and a team who are like struggling against relegation. Now, to be fair, the season Ross County stayed up under John Hughes. They beat Celtic around a similar point in the season, but that was Neil Lennon's bumbling 10 in a row chucking Celtic team who lost a lot of games that season. It was not
unique.
Yeah, and it wasn't a Rangers team who are like very much in a title race and still are, because I think there's been a lot of chickens being counted now in the other side of Glasgow, and I think like they're going to drop points as well. It's just whether Rangers also do. But from a county point of view, it's a massive result because obviously St Johnstone got beat on Saturday. Aberdeen didn't win, Motherwell didn't win, and I don't think Motherwell or Aberdeen are genuinely contenders in this, but it gives them something to cling on to now, and it gives them like something to look at, and they're suddenly heading into the split only a point behind when you would have guessed it was going to be 4. And yeah, it was a thoroughly deserved result for them as well. Like, they went behind, but then they did what they don't do often enough, which is just go at teams with their attacking players that they've got. I've said before, I think I quite like Sims as a player, but he doesn't get the minutes that I think he should get. And when you've got guys like him who are direct and run at people, and you've got obviously Murray, who is just the kind of king pest of Scottish football as a centre forward, I think like Rangers probably win that game if Simon Murray's starting for them, and that's not
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting for a minute that Simon Murray's a Rangers level player, because he clearly isn't, but he does things that their forwards simply won't, because that's the biggest problem Rangers have got as an attacking force. Is you can carry a Fabio Silva or a Cyril Dessers who have their skill sets, but try to have like both of those guys in a team, well, they don't do enough between them. You're just running out of things that can be done in attack.
And as well as that, like the drumbeat from Perth particularly has been very much a case of St Johnstone are fucked and St Johnstone will end up in the playoffs. And I've kind of struggled to... I mean, St Johnstone thoroughly deserve to be in the playoffs. They've been terrible, and they've barely improved under Levine as well, but they keep occasionally getting just about a result out of things. But I just didn't... I didn't see a situation where Ross County were going to string together a series of results to actually overhaul them, even though it wasn't a particularly big gap. They seem to be just about keeping them at arm's length. They're the target for them. It has to be, like, because they we'll talk about them later on, but they are not scoring goals. They are not keeping people out. They're a very, very poor team with very, very poor players. And the return of Ross Laidlaw to this Ross County team, I think, makes them better as well. Like, as much as Wickens holds the dubious record of making the most saves in a Premiership game, fine. I think Laidlaw's just a better goalkeeper. I think the backline looked slightly less chaotic with him there. That might just be an inexperienced thing from an inexperienced goalkeeper, whereas having Laidlaw there is having a bit of experience. And as soon as I saw him in the starting lineup, it was one of those things you look at and go, maybe.
Yeah, I was annoyed about that. Because that was obviously the last time Rangers played Ross County was that game where Rangers had like a record number of shots, and you're like, how could you possibly lose to the team you did that against? Quite easily, it turned out. Yeah, Laidlaw. I've said this right. I think Laidlaw is just like the average Scottish Premiership goalkeeper now. and which means he's fine. And Wickens has had his games where he's been maybe a wee bit better than that, but he's also had games where he's been worse than that. And I think for where Ross County are just now, putting Laidlaw back, I was sort of surprised that he didn't go. Cowie didn't put him straight back in as soon as he got the job, but he's obviously decided to do it now. And not that Laidlaw he didn't have to be brilliant, but he did pull off probably 2 or 3 really good saves, which he wasn't like a lot of the chances were ballooned over the bar or wide, but we'll come on to. But he did make one really good save from Dessers, which I'm not sure Dessers could have done that much more, given he was that close to Laidlaw, but Laidlaw made himself big and made a really good save. So that was probably the winning of the game actually for Ross County, because if they'd gone 2-0 down at that stage, you would think, though who knows the way that game was going, that would have been plenty. But I mean, Ross County deserve a lot. Like I would say a lot more credit than most teams normally deserve for beating one of the Old Firm, I would say, because I wouldn't say that's a way that teams normally beat the Old Firm. I think teams normally ride their luck, take their one chance that they get. Ross County made loads of chances, right? Made more chances than anyone has made against Rangers since people properly started tracking that in league games. Like I think since Rangers lost, I think it was since Rangers lost 5-0 when to lose the league at Parkhead. I think that was the last time that anyone made as many chances as that against Rangers in a league game. So it's not that is not normal, and is something that Ross County, it was obviously for a result like that to happen, a lot of strange things have to happen, and one of the strange things that had happened is that Ross County had the performance of their lives. So fair play to them.
And they gave so many warnings to Rangers as well. It wasn't a case of, like you say, it wasn't a smash and grab. It was even in the, obviously they improved quite dramatically in the second half, but they were good in the first half as well, and had chances in the first half to get it on level terms earlier than they did, which then eventually they did get back on terms with the most Simon Murray goal of all the Simon Murray goals, I think.
Yeah, and that's it was, they were getting numbers of the box. That, I mean, it's a slight sort of, I suppose, there's a bit of luck in that Butland kicks it right back to Murray, but they did have numbers of the box, and that was the case for all their goals. So that's how you get luck, is by actually trying to attack and getting enough numbers in the box that something's going to fall to you. They attacked with intent pretty much from the first minute. I mean, Murray made a flick to I think it's the Sims or Danda really early on, like first couple of minutes in the game.
Sims,
yeah. And as soon as that happened, you're like, oh, like it just. And it's one of those where I think strikers, especially I think strikers like Simon Murray, who sometimes their technique can be, mixed. He has his moments, but he also has moments where the ball will just bounce off him. And as soon as a striker has a first touch like that, like literally the first touch in a game like that, like basically from then on, I thought Murray, amongst others, was absolutely brilliant.
Just a smash performance and a well deserved goal from him in that sense. And then a second, just a couple of minutes later, through Harmon again, who, like you say, it's just bravery more than anything else. It's a case of just committing in. Butland probably is not going to go to the Euros with England.
He might, because loads of goalkeepers just keep getting injured. So just purely through,
and just at the time of recording, I'm hearing of a Jordan Pickford disaster taking place in at Stamford Bridge. So you never know.
You never know.
But I would suspect he would do his chances a lot better if he could stop conceding 3 goals every week.
Yeah,
I think that would probably help his chances.
Yes, I would appreciate
before
that.
A third goal with Josh Sims with and what was a very kind of up and at 'em performance from Ross County. That little step that Sims takes and sells half the Rangers defence simultaneously as well is just a smashing bit of play, and it was something that was kind of throughout all of the goals which Rangers conceded. The backline was not a backline. It looked like an AMC stock somewhere around 2020 for the majority of it as well, and just players out of position, players not doing what they're meant to be doing, players just scattered around the park as well. And there's been a lot of sleepy defending and sleepy players this weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that was where I think the main criticism of Rangers has to be levelled. It was just like the organisation was way off. I mean, I think it probably. I mean, you have to blame the manager ultimately to the team selection. Initially, not looking particularly organised throughout the game, not making changes early enough after a very bad first half, and sort of getting away with that. Obviously, at the time, being 1-0 up, not stiffening the midfield at that stage. Probably not. I think Dujon Sterling is increasingly sort of has to play for Rangers in every game. It doesn't really matter where, but he needs to be on the park somewhere, just because he knows what he's doing compared to a lot of others that you sort of have to carry. I mean, if we had 2 or 3 Dujon Sterlings, I think they'd be playing. Which is for a guy that couldn't get a sniff of a game for the first sort of 3 or 4 months of the season is remarkable. But I think he probably would be playing left back, centre mid, and right wing at the moment if there was 3 of them. But to not play even one Dujon Sterling seemed a mistake. Going with Dowell in the middle of the park with Lundstrom. I mean, Lundstrom's reverted back to type. I mean, I'm concerned that he's maybe signed a new contract and it's just not been announced.
That was about because I was going to say John Lundstrom's definitely signed a new deal, hasn't he?
Yeah, it looks like that because all his issues sort of came back in that game. Not good enough on the ball and not good enough off it. And Dowell just both Dowell and Lawrence have been played in that position, sort of almost as like a number 8. I'm not sure either of them have done it very often in their careers, and neither of them look like they know how to do it. Unless it's a different story, maybe when it's a game at Ibrox, when a team sits in and you're almost like just playing an extra creative midfielder just to try and help with breaking the team down. But it does cost you in terms of your off the ball shape, and Lundstrom is nowhere near good enough to just be the sole sort of defensive midfielder responsible for mopping everything up. Especially given the centre halves behind them aren't in particularly great form, and the fullbacks, even at their peak, weren't particularly great defensively and are now the wrong side of 30. And Barisic Claes are basically semi-retired and is chucked at Rangers, and he shouldn't be playing at all.
How come I still expect to see like Borna Barisic like popping up in like the semi-final of the Euros, coming off the bench or something? I don't know if he's even still in the Croatia squad, but it feels like you keep writing him off at Rangers and then he pops up like in these like major football matches every summer.
I don't know if his dad has got some information on.
But let's just be really careful here, lads. Really careful about what we're approaching here.
I like being attached to Bill kneecaps, so I won't expand on that thought. But yeah, he seems to go along to most major tournaments as a mascot for Croatia. But yeah, I think he'll be away to Turkey. I imagine in the summer. He's a very Turkish league player, and I'm sure he'll enjoy his spell there. But yeah, he shouldn't have been playing. And Clemens tried to. One of the good things that Clement has done over his whole spell he has used the whole squad, and he has rotated a lot, and he's got a tune out of, or he's got the odd performance out of almost everybody in the squad at one point. But I think we've just got to a point now where you can't really be doing that anymore, and you're probably just going to have to play the strongest team available in every game, and just basically trying to give people minutes in this game has ultimately come back to daunt them.
Which is a shame. It has to be said. It's
a shame. I agree.
Do we have anything else to add to Ross County 3, Rangers 2? It's a fairly Stonewall penalty at the end, tucked away with Tavernier. It would have been a nice. Laidlaw got relatively close to it, and it would have been quite nice. That felt like a way in which to round off Rangers days to miss a Tavernier penalty as well. But.
Yeah. Obviously it's a penalty. I don't think those should be penalties either, because he has no idea. The ball is of no interest to him, and he's trying to jump for something that's kind of coming from over someone's shoulder. He doesn't know anything about it, but it is a penalty. And yeah, it didn't like unlike a lot of times, like Rangers didn't really. Then they still had 6 minutes, and it ended up being 8. Like, but they never really battered the doors down the way you kind of would expect them to. So it felt like a team that just felt beat, which I don't think is a good sign, given they've got 6 massive games left in the season. I mean, Dundee, wherever they end up playing them, they will beat, because they do against Dundee. But you wouldn't be or you definitely won't lose that game, but you wouldn't be surprised now if they just kind of just have turning a turgid like 0-0, like they just can't break them down. It feels like there's just the momentum that they had built up. I don't know if it was that Benfica game that's deflated them a little bit, or if it was like the Malays setting a wee bit before that. But
I would say
because I thought they actually played all right in that game, but
we've got Rangers have managed to get less points from the last 5 games than Aberdeen have in their last 5 games, and Aberdeen have scored 3 goals in those games. So it's impressive that we've managed to do that. It actually I think it started in that Kilmarnock game, which felt like a massive win at the time, but Rangers were rubbish in that game, and were very fortunate to win it, and basically haven't really played well in a game since then. And I think the only team we've beat since then is Hibs, which is doesn't count, as we'll come on to. So yeah, since then it's been obviously the Motherwell game, the 2 Benfica games. I mean, the away leg was okay, but it was, again, the Rangers rode their luck really in that one. And then there's been a series of games where some of the result, the Celtic game, obviously the result's not a complete disaster, but that should have been, that was a really good chance to obviously increase the lead that they had at the time, and that was sort of passed up. So yeah, it's Rangers will not win the league unless the performances improve markedly. They're not going to be able to play like this and grind out 6 wins. That's definitely not going to happen. So performances will need to go back to something like they played against Hearts, which is probably the last time we actually played well.
Or Celtic might just have to get substantially worse again, which could also happen.
Well, I would also enjoy that. That'd be good.
From one bad team to a pretty good team, as we'll head to Perth and we'll see Kilmarnock scudding St Johnstone. Kilmarnock are quite good. St Johnstone aren't very good. Tell us about that, Craig.
Yeah, so I think it's as comfortable an away game as, and I think McInnes kind of alluded to this. Obviously, there had been a lot of chat, and there had, even amongst our supporters, people saying, "Oh, our away form's still not that good." That is a 1 defeat in 10 away from home for Kelly. So I think that's good. Personally,
it's pretty good.
It didn't start well. The season's still away from home, but so it's but it's about as comfortable an away performance I think you'll get. There was a wee dip kind of after half time, and McKenna spoke about that, but Kelly turned up like they looked like they expected to win the game. St Johnstone turned up like they looked like they expected Kelly to win the game, and then that's kind of how it transpired. And it's been interesting because Kelly started out the season with a very young team, and I think had the youngest player, the youngest squad, or the youngest kind of players on the park in terms of the first half of the season. But as the season's gone on, it's been the more experienced players that have come in that have been started to be leaned on, and you saw that with the 2 guys that scored the goal. Joe Wright very much felt like the fourth of the 4 centre backs, and yet he's been playing pretty much every week recently. Robbie D's back on the bench for this one. Did get on when Wright injured himself. And Marley Watkins, who was the guy who I think was basically probably snapped up to be the kind of backup striker, and has ended up more or less playing every week and is scoring at a rate I don't think he ever has in his career up till now. And it's been those guys, and then obviously others throughout the team, Vassell, Donnelly, Polworth, guys that you probably didn't expect to be hanging your hat on, that have been a huge part of that. But then you've still got the excitement of the 2 wing backs. You've still got somebody like Lewis Mayo just strolling through it, and you've got Watson coming back into the team and just providing that kind of energy. So there's so much to like about the team. It will be gutted in the summer, but it won't be gutted to the extent that the teams sometimes are, I think, because there hopefully will be the incentive to hang about. That was a massive result. It puts Kelly 8 points clear of St Mirren going into the split. My head tells me St Mirren probably won't even get 8 points after the split, but the other part of me is still going like, you can't count anything yet. You can't count anything yet, but it's obviously, as I said, it's a 12-point swing from half time in that St Mirren game, which was only 4 games ago. So if you told me at half time at that point you'd be 8 points clear of them at the split, I think you'd have been quite pleased with that. But yeah, it's hard to. There was nothing new about Kelly's performance there. It wasn't like they showed something they hadn't. I mean, it's two defeats in 18, both of which, funnily enough, against Rangers, and both of which were narrow defeats. I think we will have a something to say in the title race, to be honest. I cards on the table, I don't think we'll lose either game after the split, but I suspect we won't lose both anyway. So there's a lot to say there, and you didn't learn anything new about St Johnstone either. Just meek. They do not have good enough players. That's their fundamental issue, and Craig Levine's taken a lot of stick from their fans, and quite rightly so, because they're not an entertaining team to watch. But I think there has to be a bit of an acceptance of quite how bad they were when he came in, and the fact that now there are other ways to try and tackle this problem, but the way that he has chosen to tackle the problem of I have inherited a rubbish squad is to just try and basically grind a few results, and potentially it might be enough. I think that that Rangers result, the Ross County result, is probably a bit of a spanner in those works. I think if they'd gone into the split 4 points ahead, they would no doubt they will win a game or two after the split, but that might not be enough now. And they didn't at any point really properly put Kelly under a sustained spell of pressure, which again, when you look at who's on the park, not a surprise, because who's going to do that? So, and I saw a lot of their fans, and I think they're right, saying basically like that Kelly team that turned up is exactly everything that they were under Tommy Wright, 7-8 years ago, under Lomas even, and in that period, and that's all gone now, and they've just been for 4 years since Davidson arrived. Even obviously, you can exclude the run to the cup, which was achieved in not dissimilar style, but they did have good. They were just
having good.
They were getting good results. They were scoring the first goal, and then it's fine to you enjoy watching your team defend if you're 1-0 up. You don't enjoy watching your team defend when you're 1-0 down. And they did have better players then to play that way, and now they have been left with a husk of a squad. It's very much the squad of a team whose chairman is trying to get out because there's been no investment in the squad. They were incredibly disappointing, and even things like that. He wasn't at fault for either of the goals, but Mitov's been a big player all season, but you're even seeing we cracks with him as well now. So not a good day for them, but as I say, a brilliant day for Kelly. I think it's as I say, if we don't finish fourth from here, it'll be one of the biggest bottle jobs in Scottish football history, to be honest. So hopefully we don't see that.
I couldn't believe how much time St Johnstone were giving Kennedy and Armstrong. Like, they were just driving the ball forward with no one, and it was just they were driving the ball forward with St Johnstone defenders running away from them. Like, at some point you have to engage with them, otherwise they'll do exactly what they did, which was just drive, stop, and then put crosses in, and it will just happen all day long. And that's exactly what happened all day.
It's essentially the improvement from Kelly's, like Ewan's patented technique from last season, which was to give Danny Armstrong the ball and hope that the crosses hit one off one of the big men. We've basically trebled down on that, because now it's like we've got Danny Armstrong, we've got Matty Kennedy, and we've got Liam Polworth swinging balls into the box. So triple the players, triple the success, and it's paying off, because I mean that is what both goals were. Because ever since you said that, Ewan, it is most of the goals, but it's a lot of goals, so I don't care.
It's all right, but I mean,
the other goal tending to be a big ball down the middle and hoping the other team can't defend properly, and then Kyle Vassell scores, which does happen quite a lot as well. But yeah, so yeah, they didn't defend. Like McInnes was bold because he's been playing. We talked about Dees dropping out. He's been playing the four central defenders. He's been playing Dees as a left back and either Mayo or Wright as a right back quite a lot. We are back four of late, but he said he sensed from watching St Johnstone he could get an extra midfielder in, so which was correct.
We don't need to worry about this. It's like.
Well, no, but he was saying he played against front threes the last couple of weeks, and then he was playing against a front two, so he wanted just three centre halves, and he brought Watson in. And it's brave to have Kennedy and Armstrong as your wing backs, but I think it's the best team we can put out is with the two of them as wing backs, because they are very much two-way players, and they're really good at attacking from deep. A lot of wingers want to be really high up the park, but both of them are so good. And I really feel for Danny Armstrong at this point, because pretty much any other era of Scotland squads, he would be a shoe-in to be getting at least talked about for it, because the numbers he's putting up consistently are excellent. but he is deservedly not even part of the equation at the moment. Instead of like Matt Phillips, he's serving up against like Matt Phillips and Barry Bannon. It's like, can you displace John McGinn and Scott McTominay from this Scotland team? And probably not, because you're swinging crosses in at prodigious rates for Kilmarnock, and that's all.
He is underrated though, Armstrong, ultimately. Like, that's 2 seasons now where he's just been absolutely brilliant. Been probably over that, certainly the best winger in the league for the last 2 seasons, you'd have to say, over the course.
While I don't disagree with you, Ewan, see with the facial hair that he's grown, right? He looks like a baddie from like a 1980s East German film where he's the East German villain in like a Bond film. Like he's the top doesn't have any speaking lines, but he's like the top henchman within that as well.
But
like,
he'd just be
it's a really
down.
weird. Yeah. He's just like a really weird look he's got there as well. Like, it's really strange.
I mean, he does look like he could like unbalance the squad just by being a wee prick. Like, maybe that's why he's not in the Scotland squad. I don't know, but he has been brilliant for Kilmarnock out of nowhere. I mean,
he wasn't playing in the championship season. Yeah. Like he was like if you look at that at the day we beat Arbroath to win the league, and it's like the unused subs, and it's like him and a bunch of like jobber loanees like Declan Glass and what's his name, Campbell, that I can't even remember the first name of, from Aberdeen, and all these guys. Dean Campbell. And there's Danny Armstrong, like the guy who you're going to tell me in 2 years' time is a potential Player of the Year candidate in the top flight. I don't know if he'll get nominated or not, because he's a prick, as you said.
Yeah, players are voting for him.
They're very much a team of pricks now as well. I think I spoke about this before. Every single goal Kelly score now, especially at Rugby Park, we seem to be actively celebrating in front of the away support, which is an incredible turn of events. I don't know when it started, but it seems to be very much a choice at this point. Yeah, a bunch of piss boilers as well, which is fantastic. But yeah, not a lot more to say. I'm hoping, as much as I've said that with the end of the season, I'm hoping we can get Forth over the line early, and I can enjoy the end of the season. And for St Johnstone, they're not going to enjoy the end of the season. I think it's 50-50 with them and County. I don't actually know which horse to back, because County are a better team, but St Johnstone are going to get results because they just will. So I don't know which way it goes.
They'll get 3 points against Hibs, which is a stick on, because that's how the world works.
Yes. But I think
a few teams might get 3 points against Hibs now, to be honest.
Yes,
quite possibly.
And Aberdeen.
Anyway,
I suspect.
Well, since we've mentioned Hibs, we'll move on to Hibernian, who will be finishing this season in the bottom 6 after they failed to defeat Motherwell at Fir Park, despite being a goal to the good until 90+3. I attended this game. It was a deeply frustrating game and a very weird game, because it's from time to time you get, I mean, as much as I don't believe weather is real, from time to time you do get gusty days at Fir Park, which is exacerbated enormously by the fact that Motherwell only have 2/3 of a main stand. So basically the ball gets to that part of the stadium, and then there's like a wind tunnel across the pitch, which leads to a whole lot of very odd and very strange looking bits of play, essentially because there's gusts of wind coming from absolutely nowhere where there should be a stand, and there, for long known reasons there is not. From a Motherwell perspective, bit of for Motherwell to be going into the final day of the regular season with a legitimate chance of finishing top 6 is it does not reflect well on the rest of the league broadly, or any of the teams that are within that battle as well. Dundee, I will offer some. I'll discount them from that because it's Dundee Football Club. For Hibernian to even be in that position, and for Aberdeen to be actually nowhere within that race as well, is a fairly strong indictment on both of those teams, given that Motherwell went 18 games without a win. Astonishing. We were playing Connor Wilkinson, who was not, as it turned out, a good centre forward in central midfield, and came into the final day with a legitimate chance of winning a top 6 place. Is astonishing value. Motherwell are a dramatically better team than they have been for the majority of the season. We remain weak in areas. We remain a sleepy team defensively. We've tried just about every combination of centre half that you could possibly imagine. all of them have plus points, all of them have quite strong negative points, and I remain fairly firm on my view that I do like as individuals, with one exception, I do like all the Motherwell defenders. I wouldn't be sad to see any of them depart this season. As a unit, they are collectively poor. Conceding another daft penalty in this game as well was just jumping at something which you were never going to win in any case, to give away another penalty. But then rounded off with that, our collection of waifs and stray centre halves did score an absolutely wonderful volley at the end of the game as well, which makes absolutely not a lick of sense at all.
A brilliant spite equaliser made absolutely no difference to the Motherwell.
100%.
But absolutely ruined Hibs' whole season. It's great. That's
100%. And for the listeners that aren't maybe aware of this, just before the season kicked off, Tony Anderson in the Terrace group chat decided to share his view that there's absolutely no chance that Shane Blaney is a good footballer, which I've had starred since he's posted it. I was like, at some point this season, Shane Blaney was going to score an absolute rocket, more likely of a free kick, and it was inevitably going to be against Hibs. So I really enjoyed bringing that back up again.
Tony had a bad afternoon on Saturday because he was he was posting when Nick Montgomery came in and was drawing every game 2 each, as he continued to do. Tony was kept going on about how Hibs were back, and I mean he's tongue in cheek. He is tongue in cheek.
It's very well done.
But it's and he kept saying about how are you having fun, Kelly and Dundee having fun, and he kept going on about this for months and months. So Gary and I were enjoying the Schadenfreude of that on Saturday. When Hibs did what they, I think the way it's gone for Hibs, like had Motherwell not equalised, Dundee would have scored at Pittodrie.
Absolutely, or they would have beaten Rangers.
Yeah, that's how it would have happened. Yeah,
that was exactly how I viewed things were going to happen. Like Motherwell were going to get the result against Hibs, and then Dundee were going to lose to Aberdeen, but only for Dundee to then turn up at Dens or McDermott, wherever they eventually get around to playing it, and somehow defeat Rangers like 2-0 or something along those lines. The only thing that could have made the game better would have been Ollie Shaw tucking in. Somehow, despite scoring a 90 plus 3 of 94 minutes of injury time, Ollie Shaw still managed to somehow end up with a chance. I watched it back again, and I've no idea what the fuck Hibs thought they were doing. I understand they needed to go and score a goal, but also it was a case of they just did literally the entire team ran up the park.
Yeah.
Only for Shaw to tuck it wide. That would have been a truly perfect Hibernian Football Club moment for Ollie Shaw to get his first Motherwell goal by tucking it past them to truly ruin their day, and not just a spite equaliser but a spite winner.
Yeah, it's Hibs. What I think it's been pretty obvious from a couple of weeks in, probably from when the 2-2 draws stopped being draws and started being defeats. I'd
argue with that, you and I think the moment you realise, everyone realised, certainly the moment I realised that it had gone wrong was when I heard Nick Montgomery's accent.
Yes.
It was like that exact moment. I was like, nope, you will not do.
You're not even
when he was giving it the better team win before the League Cup semi-final. Like, you don't get this. How can you possibly have played for Neil Warnock's Sheffield United and be coming out with that line?
Yeah, and it's just been a constantly trying to get too many attacking players in the team, looking very unbalanced, signing more attacking players in January, which maybe some of them are. I mean, Malida's has actually been good, considering he hasn't kicked his own arse for about 2 years. That's more luck than judgment, I would suggest. But to then just sign more attacking players, and again, Hibs fans were like, "Oh no, but we need them." Well, yeah, I mean, every team needs better attacking players than they have. I mean, pretty much every team would take that, but it didn't really resolve any of the issues that they had at centre half or in defensive midfield. I mean, the same with Ryan Welsh, but he's been in and out of the team, looks good in times, but other times has been very rash. Triantis was signed as a centre half, has been utterly appalling every time he's had to do anything that a centre half has to do. But it's looked all right when he's played in midfield, but then he got moved back to centre half last week. It was so bad he got dropped. So the team, even though he's been doing all right in centre mid, Joe Neal being asked to be the one sort of growing up in midfield for the whole season, and he's looked pish now because he's just tired and fed up.
He just had it.
He's been babysitting for a whole season, and he's up to here with it all. It's I mean, it's a complete mess of a season from Hibs again. And
But just to add that in their attacking point of view, they're 700-800 grand striker marquee signing. They sign the summer, sits on the bench and doesn't go on the park at any point in this game.
yeah,
They on the bench this weekend they had Vente, Tavares, and Lafondra, which I can't imagine. Tavares is on a significant wage, but Vente will be on a big wage. Lafondra will be on a big wage. Neither of them contributed at all.
Yeah. And I mean, Marcondes was sort of playing as a number 10 / up front. His whole game seemed to be teeing up a colleague for a fairly easy chance and then just looking absolutely disgusted that they missed it. He did it like 3 or 4 times. Yuan, I mean, that was an interesting performance from Ellie Yuan. I think you might have some comments on that, Graham. Yeah, that was at least twice he could have.
It was an all-time bad winger performance, and again, not for a. I saw some people giving some stick in the fact that he wasn't trying. He was trying exceptionally hard. It was just really bad. Would be my view on that. He was working hard down the flanks. He was getting himself chances. He was putting himself into the right positions, only for his technique or decision making to be absolutely atrocious. That's
and again, I think he was having one of those games where maybe it wouldn't have mattered what you did with him, and he was just having a shocker. But you're asking way too much of him to play sensibly in like a midfield 4. Like he can't do that. Like he is a forward, and I think that's why he's probably a bit frazzled every time he gets to the box, because you're just asking too much of him. And Boyle used to be able to do that 4 years ago. Can't do it now. But Boyle should probably be playing as a striker. But so you've basically 4 players that you probably want to just let them do what they want in a forward area, and don't ask them to be tracking back all the time. But you can't play 4 guys like that, because the rest of the team cannot. The rest of the team's nowhere near good enough to compensate for that. And that's been, Montgomery's tried that for the whole season pretty much, and it just has not worked.
Particularly given how poor they are defensively as well. Like, both centre halves were poor in this game. Bashiri got away with at least 2, which Motherwell should really have capitalised on. Fish, again, not a huge amount to contribute within the game as well. And again, Cadden and Abita, kind of fine. Like, I don't know what else you expect them, because they also want them to get forward as well in order to support the attack. Like, of course you're going to see goals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's annoying because they could be an exciting team, Hibs, but they never play quite well enough to see a team away, and they have to play so well to win a game. It's like the balance is just completely off. Has been all season, and Montgomery shouldn't manage them for another game, I don't think. But I don't know if they'll give them the rest of the season just to see it out. But it's not. It hasn't worked.
Quite funny all in all. Moving from Lanarkshire, we will head up to the team that did make top 6 in Dundee Football Club, as they battled, scrapped and fought their way to the trophy presentation in City Square of Dundee, of standing out in the balcony and lifting aloft the "We finished in the top 6" trophy. So congratulations to them. I wish them well. Yeah, this felt... if I was not a gambler myself, were I a gambler, this is exactly the bet I would have put on at the weekend, was for Dundee to absolutely scrap their way to a 0 each against a pish Aberdeen team.
The only part of it would be Dundee drawn 0-0, which doesn't feel on brand for this particular Dundee team, but drawn 2-2 or 3-3 or something would be more up their street. But they thoroughly deserve to be, I think I said it last week, they deserve to be out of the teams that have been in that battle. They're the ones who you think should be in the top 6. Okay, they fell backwards over the line a wee bit, but so did St Mirren, and they got the job done a few weeks ago when they kind of turned it around and picked up a couple of wins when they'd been looking to fall apart. And then they didn't end up doing very well in the last couple, but they did enough. And to go to Pittodrie and get a point, yes, it's a very bad Aberdeen team, but it's still Pittodrie. It's still a team who you have a bit. I think you have to. In your head, it doesn't matter how good or bad they are. If you're going to Pittodrie, you're going to be a bit like remembering what Pittodrie is and what it can be. So yeah, it was a good result for them. They didn't ever look in tons of danger. I think they deserved the point as well, at least. And it's a really big achievement to come back, regardless of being, you're not like, it's not like plucky underdogs. It's not like if, for example, Airdrie got promoted this year and then finished 6th next season, that would be an incredible achievement. It's more like you've got promoted, even with a decent budget, which Dundee have got, to finish immediately 6th is all right. Like, that's good. Well done. And I think they're well in this battle for 5th as well. I think they're well in the battle with St Mirren at this point, because St Mirren have stopped winning games. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up finishing the season in 5th place. And yeah, that would be a particularly good achievement for them as a newly promoted club. And especially honestly, when they appointed Docherty, I thought it was a big gamble, regardless of his involvement with McInnes. It's a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, that assistant is always a big part of what the manager does, and actually half the time it turns out they've just been like putting cones out and shouting at players or something like that, or being their best pal. But it actually seems like Docherty does. I mean, it doesn't seem to have affected McInnes much either, but it feels like Docherty has obviously been able to instill something. It's a wee bit. It's got the same fingerprints of the kind of McInnes to it, but it's got a different vibe to the way they play as well. And he's built a really good squad, a deep squad as well. Like, maybe not deep in quality, but they've got lots of guys of the same sort of level. So when someone's injured, if they've got a centre half injured, don't worry, we've got about 6 centre halves that are all the same. If a central midfielder gets injured, don't worry, we've got 4 of those as well. Like, just don't ask us to pick any good wingers or fullbacks. apart from one Beck when he's fit. But yeah, so they did really well this season, and I think the season's not done for them. They've got opportunities to finish one place higher, and also opportunities to rile up both title chasing sides with their pitch, potentially, depending on how the fixtures shake up.
Consider myself riled already. If they get into Europe, then Lord knows we'll get chucked out of Europe as a country. Skexit. Because that will not go down well with UEFA. Yeah, no, I think it's quite boring narratively that normally when there's like a partnership like that, like one of them has to be shit when they separate, but both of them to be better than they seem to be together is an odd one. But yeah, I mean, Tony Docherty's probably manager of the year, I would say. I mean, there's other in the Premiership. I mean, yeah, you will see what happens between the Old Firm, but I wouldn't say necessarily either of them deserve it. McInnes, Naismith, Docherty are probably your other contenders, and I mean, I certainly thought Dundee would be, probably where Ross County are just now, and I just thought St Johnstone would be where Livingston are. But I think it's a fantastic achievement to be 6, and it's not that I don't know where their budget stacks. It's probably second or third bottom, I imagine. So yeah,
they'll be spending more than Livy and St Johnstone. I don't know beyond that.
Yeah, just not on their pitch, obviously.
It's the thing that impresses me most about Docherty is just the mix of the squad that he has within that as well. Kind of going from like the youth players like Lyle Cameron and guys like that within the squad as well. Obviously added the 2 Burnley regens in January, integrating like Owen Beck to being the key member of that team who was such a big part of that, and then Silla and Boateng in midfield. There's guys like who are frankly championship level players, and like Tiffany, then getting the most out of guys like McCowan. Like there's a lot of work is going on there, because like we know the players that we do know there already, and the players we did know, you kind of thought you knew what you were getting with them. But he's improved all of them. I think it's probably safe to say. Maybe Tiffany the only exception again, but now he's coming into the squad a little bit more and playing a little bit more. You're seeing a bit of that as well. Got so much more out of McCowan than I think anyone expected. Has developed the young players, has integrated guys that are going to be there as loan players or longer term signs. Like, just very good. Just very good, like, player management more than anything else. And you're right, Craig, in terms of the depth of the squad and things like that as well. Like, guys like the Laminator coming off the bench as well, like, who are not, again, Premiership players, but have been relatively steady for Dundee over the course of the season as well. Like, it's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it's a championship squad in many respects. And you sort of saw how Kilmarnock struggled a lot last season with a sort of similar idea. A team that had not really shot the lights out and getting promoted, you thought you might be struggle because that's the majority still of the team, albeit Dundee added players. But I mean, a lot of the a lot of the better players this season, as the ones you're listing, they were all there last season in a team that didn't look that great. So yeah, Doherty's just obviously a better manager than Bowyer is, and is done really well with them.
And Graham Shinnie's still stupid, so that's good.
Yes. See, this game was a better game than I thought it was. Having my first viewing of this game was the Sky Sports highlights that they put on Twitter, which was 2.5 minutes, which contained 5 bookings, a goalkeeping clearance that didn't seem to have anything to do with anything, and a disallowed goal. And there's a bit more goalmouth incident than those that highlight package would have suggested. But yeah, Shinnie, it's just, I mean, obviously he doesn't miss the semi-final, does he? Because of that, it would just be the next league game.
No, he misses the semi-final from the other suspension he has.
Oh, does he? All right, he's already suspended for that. Right?
He got booked for dissent for not getting a free kick when they were 3-1 up against Kelly, and then had a big meltdown on the BBC.
Oh yeah, I remember that now.
As if it wasn't his fault for the dissent.
Was his first booking not for kicking someone up in the air while being ahead against Bonnyrigg as well?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nobody but himself to blame, but no, he will miss the first post-split game. And it's worth saying with Aberdeen, like, they've obviously, it feels like they've steadied the ship, but you look at that table and it would not take much in the first couple of games after the split for them to be panicking again.
Yeah, I think the way this game went towards the end, I know I'm judging this from the highlights, but Dundee seemed to be all over them at the end. Now Dundee had something to play for and Aberdeen didn't. I wonder if the first couple of games post-split might be like that. I mean, obviously it depends how the fixtures come out, but if they get teams down the bottom, if say they get St Johnstone and Ross County as the first 2 games, you would not be shocked at all if they lost those 2. And then all of a sudden, the games do matter. But whether they can react at that stage, remains to be seen, because it looked like they could be arsed at the end of that game to me. Like, I mean, they might have been thinking, I don't want to get injured for the semi-final, or they might have been, it might just been Dundee were playing well, they couldn't cope. But, it seemed to me that there's going to be a severe sort of like motivation issue at Aberdeen, especially given, they've got a dead duck caretaker, which is not Peter Leven's fault, but there's not even the thing of a new manager coming in now and you're trying to impress him towards the end of the season. There's really very little for these Aberdeen players to play for until they might have to be playing for something,
which is delicious.
Yes,
frankly.
Let's hope so.
Fingers crossed for a thrilling end to the bottom 6. One team that will be in the bottom 6 is Livingston Football Club, who felt like they were having a wee moment of just having their players in the shop window against Hearts, only for things to go very, very swiftly and very, very dramatically wrong.
Yeah, my wee pet project, Stephen Kelly, showing something again. What's that? I don't understand what happened to him this season.
I'm entirely with you as well. I remain very annoyed that Livingston signed them in the first place, because again that was a summer where Motherwell signed another boatload of shit when Stephen Kelly was there and available. But we decided that the boatload of shit was more appealing as a signing.
He looks like a Motherwell player, the ginger sort of hair. But yeah, I mean, I think he could be one that if he goes to a club that isn't a complete disaster zone around him and knows how to get the best of him, all of a sudden I think he could really kick on. If he went to a Kilmarnock or whatever, I think he's as good a player as Polworth, for example, and maybe a bit more mobile. So that, I think that move, I wouldn't be surprised if Kelly went for it. It does feel a bit odd that a guy that isn't always in the worst team in the league could walk into a much better team within the league. But I think he could. But anyway, took his 2 goals very well, and almost scored another one actually at the start of the game. Craig Gordon remains one of the worst goalkeepers I've ever seen. As soon as he leaves his own box, he is absolutely. I mean, he is a terrible footballer in terms of football. Like Craig Gordon, fantastic goalkeeper, terrible footballer. And as soon as you hit a ball over the back line and he's run onto it, it's been the same since for as long as he's played. He's an absolute disaster zone.
But well, why? He must know. He's 41 years old. He must know that. So why are you trying to be like fucking cute?
Yeah,
he's got so much. He's got so much talent in his hands, Craig, that his feet just they've got fucking nothing.
Like he'd be the worst player if you played fives with Craig Gordon. He'd be the worst player by a mile if he wasn't allowed to go on goals.
And you'd all leave injured.
Yes, yeah, I know. He's bad.
I think it's always bad news, like just being on the pitch is damaging his Euro hopes.
Yes.
I think he'll go. But it's I feel like Steve Clarke would have been more content had he not seen that. I can imagine like Carver just being on the phone like, don't bother watching Hearts Levy. I'll do that for you. Steve. Shanklin played well. Don't you worry about it. Craig. What about Craig? Craig. We don't need to talk about Craig. Just move on. Get on the phone to Elliot Anderson again for me, please. Just get on with that. But it feels. I mean, ultimately, like I found it odd that this was the game he was back in for, which makes me think he's not going to play the semi-final. Because he'd been playing the cup games, and then I wonder if this was the kind of payoff to him was like, well, I'm sorry, we're going with Xander in the semi, so we'll give you the Livy game. And as it's turned out, I don't think he's not played badly or anything. It's just like it wasn't exactly vintage Craig Gordon there.
I sort of thought they were giving him this game to give him an extra game before the semi. But
it could be that as well.
Yeah, but then you might have thrown that into doubt by doing what he did.
Throwing it in. By throwing it into doubt.
Yeah.
He offers too much to the Scotland squad not to be a part of it when you're hoping that none of your other two goalkeepers are on the pitch anyway. And if you're ever relying on your third choice, then you've got big problems during a tournament. Like I can't ever remember a team actually needing to pick the third choice goalkeeper, other than like teams bringing them off the bench in the third dead rubber game because they can. But yeah, and on the rest of the game, like Shankland very much showing the strings to his bow.
I know you're joking. Like, Shankland played well. Shankland did play really well in this game.
Two assists and a goal is good going for your centre forward, and kind of ticking his way closer to the kind of big landmark numbers that he's been talking about all season, which is big for him. I feel there's a big goal coming for him at Hampden at the weekend. Actually, whether it will be a decisive goal or not, I don't know. But I feel he's been building up to something this season, and yeah, Hearts when they want to as an attacking force, very good, which is what you saw there. And it's been very frustrating from a Kelly point of view because we've been getting up a real head of steam and a real good run of form, but they've just not got any closer to us. Like they've just been kind of disappearing off into the distance all the time. And it's going to make for a very boring end to the season for them because they're basically nothing to play for at this point, apart from, again, just riling up Rangers and Celtic, which I'm sure they'll keenly do.
Altogether, though, I mean, it's. I think we've known this for a few weeks. It's just a matter of time for Livingston go down. They'll also not be. They'll also be shorn of Tete Yengi for the next game as well. For
referee, like, what are you doing? Just ignore it. What it wasn't. It wasn't anything directed at anyone. Just like, why did you need to get involved?
Yeah,
it's just like small time wee guy refereeing. Just like, don't bother.
I think it must have been because of. I think it was because of what he got booked for the first yellow, which was dissent. So I think it's like stunk of a referee looking for any excuse to send a player off. I thought like he almost wanted to give him 2 yellows for the first dissent, and then as soon as he would have done anything, I think he would have been off. But yeah, that was a nonsense.
I'm not a pro lip reader or lip speaker, but I did really enjoy him shouting what for, and you can see Martindale turn round and shout for kicking the water bottle. It's just fucking brilliant. Really, really enjoyable. Enjoyed that very, very much. And also fair play to Hearts for scoring the same goal 3 times.
Yes.
That's quite aesthetically enjoyable. Anyway, from one aesthetically enjoyable thing to our final game, which is Celtic 3, St Mirren 0, with a couple of very aesthetically pleasing goals. One from Atati and less so the goal itself, but the ball from Alistair Johnstone for Furuhashi's goal was ridiculous. Pinpoint stuff. Eye of a needle, however you want to describe that, was a very good goal.
Yeah, I think like Hatate coming back and starting to do stuff like that is massive for Celtic in the sense of he's you've seen wee glimpses of him since he came back, but that's the first time you've been like that's his trademark kind of thing of like just finding himself in these positions and scoring ridiculous goals and just generally influencing games in a way that he hadn't for a lot of the season. And then obviously you wondered when he came back from injury whether he would just be the same guy that was kind of not really doing the part of the start of the season. But I think he's also quite a big game player, and coming into this point, I think he will have a big influence if he stays fit. So it's it was a great goal, and Celtic doing like getting a comfortable win at this point, because it doesn't matter who you're playing. I feel like nothing's guaranteed at this point in the season. So being able to get a comfortable win eventually, once they kind of got the first goal, makes a big difference. And it definitely. I mean, the weekend's definitely swung the pendulum in their favour. They do have 3 more home games this season. Remains to be seen who they're against, but they will fancy that. They've literally got it in their hands, but they've very much got it in their hands in terms of knowing what they have to go out and do. And it no longer involves having to go out and beat Rangers necessarily, which is, I think they will beat Rangers, but it's whether they can hold it together in those other games, because I think there are banana skins all over the place in this post-split, to be honest, for Celtic, but I think the same is also true for their pals across the road. So it felt like a big weekend for them.
I've felt like the title, I think prior to the last Old Firm, the title was going to be decided at Rugby Park one way or another. Wouldn't like to pick one, doesn't really matter which one, but I was fairly convinced that it was going to be decided at Rugby Park, because ultimately they're the team which I think both of the Old Firm will be most concerned about post-split. I think that's the one that they should be most concerned about as well. I did really enjoy, you see, just before half-time, in terms of watching the game, as the whistle's blown, there's a lot of booing. And like you were saying, Craig, it was at the very start of the podcast, in terms of like there's been an awful lot of chickens being counted, and to go from half-time and furious to literally less than 24 hours later to be crowing quite loudly. Yes. There's at least one more twist to go before the end of the season, certainly.
I've been reading a lot, because I sometimes when I'm bored, I'll like search for Killy on Twitter just to see what's going on. Like basically, I'm mainly looking for what our fans saying, but you end up at the moment when it's a title race like this, it's just Rangers and Celtic fans talking about us. And I've seen quite a lot of Celtic fans basically saying we just need to beat Killy and get something against Rangers, and they've almost almost counted the other 3 wins already. And I'm like, in what world are you counting those results against? Well, I don't think Dundee have taken anything off them, but Hearts and St Mirren, I think, have both taken points off them this season. If it wasn't this season, St Mirren did last, or at some point recently, I remember it. So I don't think you are in a position to be doing that at the moment. But it feels very much like it's feast or famine. Like it's like you're either going to win the league or going to be terrible, and you can't just be like still not very good, but better than the other lot.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be the worst team to have won the league for a while, I would say, for a good while. At least because of the other Rodgers teams that after their undefeated season, like this is a more or less amount of points. They're going to end up with maybe even slightly more points than those two. But because there was no competition at the time, it was very much like, well, it was almost like difficult for them to keep the motivation every week after they had that undefeated season. But so you would give those teams probably a pass, but I think you'd have to go back probably. Certainly when Rangers and Celtic both been in the same league, I would say you're probably going back to like some of the maybe one of the Alan McLeish teams that was quite bad that won the league. Because neither team are very good, and that won't change when one of the teams wins the league. But the narrative will, and it'll be one team will be brilliant and one team will be terrible.
Good, and that more or less rounds us off for this Monday podcast, coming in at just under an hour. So well played, well done to all of us. We will be back at numerous times this week, I imagine, with numerous different patrons, some of which Ewan may be on, Craig may be on, I may be on. I didn't look at the schedule, so I don't actually know. So nonetheless, we will be back. Other people will be back. There'll be a Low League podcast. There's a couple of episodes of the TV show back. It'll all be fun. It'll be good. There's only a few weeks left, and then we don't need to watch our terrible fucking football teams anymore.
Oh, well, we've got a different terrible football team to watch in the summer.
Oh yeah, the ones that are chokers until they're not. Yeah, I've got my concerns around that as well. So that's good as well. Things to look forward to, nonetheless. But eventually, the sweet embrace of death will take us all. Nonetheless, thank you very much for your time this evening, Craig.
Thank you, Graham.
And thank you very much for your time, Ewan.
Thank you, Graham. Thank you, Craig.
Smashing. Right, enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll be back soon. Bye-bye.